In today's video, I will discuss the traits Elon Musk has that makes him so rich and successful. By studying these traits, his actions can be modeled and then replicated by others to achieve similar results. Be sure to watch to the end of the video to learn how to be more like the real-life Iron Man. Welcome to I Will Become a Millionaire, the YouTube channel that is part financial journey and part education. Elon Musk is the third richest man in the world as of the time of writing. He's also the CEO and founder of Tesla, a maker of electric vehicles, as well as of Space Exploration Technologies, a rocket manufacturer that has been used by NASA to resupply the space station. In addition to this, he is the founder and co-founder of many other companies. The first trait I will discuss is his ability to think from first principles. First principles thinking is a very effective strategy for breaking down complicated problems and generating original solutions. It also might be the single best approach to learn how to think for yourself. Rather than thinking by convention or analogy, first principles thinking is the act of boiling a process down to the fundamental parts that you know are true and possible, then reasoning up from there. One of the biggest problems people have is that they assume they know much more than they actually know. Figure out what you really know and build up from there. This requires much more mental effort, but it is much more useful as you're building on a solid foundation. Let's look at an example of this in Elon's life. Musk had the goal of going to Mars. Rather than buying the finished rockets from Russia for millions of dollars, as was his initial plan, Musk decided to create his own company, SpaceX, then purchase any raw materials cheaply, and build the rockets himself. "I tend to approach things from a physics framework," Musk said in an interview. "Physics teaches you to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. So I said, okay, let's look at the first principles. What is a rocket made of? Aerospace grade aluminium alloys, plus some titanium, copper, and carbon fiber. Then I asked, what is the value of those materials on the commodity market? It turned out that the material cost of a rocket was around 2% of the typical price. After a few years, Musk was able to launch rockets for almost a tenth of the industry standard price, which helped to generate large profits for SpaceX. He used first principles thinking to break the situation down to the fundamentals, bypass the high prices of the aerospace industry, and create a more effective solution. As part of first principles thinking, what Musk learned from the novel The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is that one of the really tough things is figuring out what questions to ask, as once you figure out the question, then the answer is relatively easy. The next trait I want to discuss is his relentless, resilient work ethic. I say something, and then it usually happens. Maybe not on schedule, but it usually happens. It is Elon's mix of massive relentless action combined with high levels of resilience that makes him unique. Elon believes that his resilience comes in part from his tough upbringing. He was bullied a lot in school in South Africa, and he was even hospitalized. He also did not have a good relationship with his father, Elon Musk. He feels that the suffering he experienced helped to make him who he is, and give him extra reserves of strength and will. Musk believed America is where great things are possible, so he moved from South Africa to Canada, where his mother was born, by getting a Canadian passport, then after a few years got a scholarship to the University of Pennsylvania. Musk moved to Silicon Valley to attend Stanford University Graduate School, but left Stanford to start his first company, Zip2. The growth of Zip2 highlights a great example of his relentlessness. Zip2 was a web software startup that created online city guides for newspapers, which was founded in Palo Alto, California in 1995. It was eventually sold to Compaq for roughly $300 million in 1999. When Musk and his younger brother Kimball were starting Zip2, rather than getting an apartment, they rented a small office and slept on the sofa. They showered at the YMCA and had so little money that they had only one computer. The website was up during the day and I was coding it at night, 7 days a week, all the time. The lesson to take from this is that you need to work very hard. Work hard every waking hour, Musk said in 2014. If you do the simple math, and say if someone else is working 50 hours a week and you're working 100, you'll get twice as much done in the course of a year as the other company. The best example of his relentless, resilient work ethic was when Tesla and SpaceX both almost went bankrupt in 2008 due to failed rocket launches and a global financial crisis that later grew into a recession. The events before this would have broken anyone else. He'd arrived in America with nothing. He had lost a child, he was being ridiculed in the press and by his ex-wife, and was on the verge of his life's work being destroyed. He does not wallow after sad events or fray under pressure. He gets hyper-rational. He's still able to make very clear long-term decisions, but even then, he only narrowly survived and closed the financing round on Christmas Eve 2008. It was the last hour of the last day that it was possible. The next trait I will talk about is his idealism. If you get up in the morning and think the future is going to be better, it is a bright day. Otherwise, it's not. Musk sells people on a dream, like the dream I have of becoming a millionaire, that I want to keep alive in you. He paints a picture of a brighter future and uses this to motivate people. In some ways this functions like a cult, as the picture he paints is so compelling, people will give up their lives for it. They will forgo socializing, relationships, much of family life, sleep, and much more. This is life or death for the human race in the minds of his employees. What Musk has developed that so many of the entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley lack is a meaningful worldview. He's the possessed genius on the grandest quest anyone has ever concocted. He's less a CEO chasing riches than a general marshalling troops to secure victory. Where Mark Zuckerberg wants to help you share baby photos, Musk wants to, well, save the human race from self-imposed or accidental annihilation. He is idealistic but has commercial sense. He is more like Thomas Edison than Nikola Tesla. As Peter Thiel says, if you've invented something new but you haven't invented an effective way to sell it, you have a bad business, no matter how good the product. People wanted flying cars but they got 140 characters, and the best minds of a generation are thinking about how to make people click ads. Where other people fail, Elon succeeds. There's no shortage of people with a vision for the future. What makes Elon exceptional is his ability to make his come true. I next want to discuss his ability to take risks. When Henry Ford made cheap, reliable cars, people said, "Nah, what's wrong with the horse?" That was a huge bet he made, and it worked. When a lot of Silicon Valley CEOs make money, they become more risk adverse. When Elon Musk received his proceeds for PayPal of $180 million, he put $100 million in SpaceX, $70 million in Tesla, $10 million in Solar City, and had to borrow money for rent. He always invests his own money in the companies he creates, rather than just using other people's money. He doesn't want to ask other people to invest in something if he's not prepared to do so himself. He also invests this money in areas that have historically failed, such as a new American car company, space company, or clean energy company. Rather than saying, "I will only start a company when the prices come down and become economically viable," he just rolls up his sleeves and gets on with it. If it needs to be done and no one is doing it, then Elon will. But there is now a degree to which you have to ask whether his success is an indictment on the rest of us who have been working on much more incremental things. To the extent that the world still doubts Elon, I think it's a reflection on the insanity of the world and not on the supposed insanity of Elon. He also pays attention to negative feedback. Really pay attention to negative feedback and solicit it, particularly from friends. Hardly anyone does that, and it's incredibly helpful. Elon believes it's very important to have a feedback loop in order to think about what you've done in order to make it better. This could also help you to focus on the areas of which you'd get most of the gains with the least effort. After Zip2 in 1999, one of Musk's ideas was to create an internet bank for the 21st century called X.com, which merged with Confinity in 2000 and was later rebranded as PayPal in 2001. From feedback that Musk received, his radical ideas to create an online bank came up short, but PayPal's payment system had become very successful. What they were doing was difficult, but didn't offer much in the way of returns. But the electronic payments were what people really wanted, which they could do easily. Musk decided that X.com would terminate its other internet banking operations and focus on PayPal for this reason. In summary, think from first principles rather than by convention or analogy. Have a relentless, resilient work ethic. Be an idealist with commercial sense. Take risks and pay attention to negative feedback and solicit it. Please like, subscribe and share this with your friends if you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below if there's anyone else you would like me to make a Traits of the Rich video about. I have attached a link to a great biography on Elon Musk in the description if you want to buy it. Thanks for watching.